So I'm Carol. My journey started as a specialist support assistant working in, by the accent you can probably tell, Oldham, Rochdale and Manchester. And then I decided to have a career change and decided to retrain to be habilitation specialist, which then gave me 16 wonderful years in Bury in Lancashire. And a habilitation specialist can work from 0 through to 25 with the knowledge and understanding of working in mainstream school and working with students with other different abilities. Preschool, and so I've now then moved up to Cumbria in Westmoreland and Furness Council, and so my journey has allowed me to share working with 0 to literally 105. And so it's been a real good learning journey, and I am still learning, and I think we all need to remember and take that on as well. The difference between rehab and habilitation specialist is you can't really rehab children because they don't have the skill in the first place. So we're teaching the skill from scratch. There's no knowledge or understanding on how to fasten a shoelace or make a cup of tea, etc. From a rehab point of view and habilitation, the work is exactly the same. The difference is the paperwork. With rehab, you've got your education. Sorry, with rehab, it's adult social care, and you've got your Care Act assessment. And with habilitation, you've got your education healthcare plan. So those are the only differences, really. It's the paperwork and the form, what you've got to follow. I like to do, in my spare time, do a little bit of work with Alström Syndrome UK, which is a rare genetic disorder, and obviously work with Look, the charity too. Why do we need to do this? Because actually it's the charities that are filling the gaps. There are so many gaps within what the authorities are being able to provide, that it's the charities that we look to, and we've got to keep supporting our charities. So I hope that just gives you a little bit of an overview of what's the difference between habilitation and rehab, and your journey will be with both of those people. I wanted to take a little look really at independent kitchen skills. Again, I wanted to share first with you a little formula that helps me. And the formula is, because people will always say, when should I start doing this? When do I need to begin to work to make them independent? It's a bigger journey than that. We start by offering choices. Choices is where we start. When we give choices to people, and when you reflect it on yourself, if someone gives you a choice, you feel like you're in control of a situation, don't you? You then feel quite good because someone's given you a choice, and you feel a bit happy about that, and your self-esteem is boosted. And it's that then that leads us to be able to develop those independent skills. What I like to say though too is what we have to remember is we need to be less dependent before we can then be independent. We also want to be able to think about expectations and have realistic expectations on our children and our young people. We want to be able to offer them little hopes and little aspirations and boost this I can do attitude, because it's so hard when you're journeying with a visual impairment with all the barriers. And it is hard. Everybody's having to work 200% harder than their sighted peers. So we want them to have this I can do attitude. And so I think we can do that in the kitchen. It's a great starting place, isn't it, in the kitchen? We can start with really, really simple preschool activities where you're tipping, you're pouring, you're using sand, you're using water. And that gives us the skills to feel the difference between what's heavy and light, the words what's up and down, what's left and right. You know, we've got to get all these words in as well, haven't we? So we'll whiz forward. We've done our preschool stuff. We're thinking about, right, we need to start to make a drink, even a bit, pour a glass of water, stuff like that. Really quick and easy. I've got a little cup here. I don't know whether you know, we've got a little liquid level indicator here. You dangle the legs in the water, you pour the water in, it beeps and it vibrates. So then you know when to stop. Great little gadget. They're about £10. These, for me, in my perfect world, should be on the tables in all schools, and all students should be using them, because let's face it, they all make a mess, and this will help with independence. It's a fun gadget to use, and guess what? We're all learning together. One of the things I like to use quite a lot is camping equipment. So children like to use a nice fancy glass. Use a plastic one that's come from the camping shop. They're often very textured, and they're often weighted a little bit more on the bottom. So when the hand goes to take it, it's not as knock-overable, if that makes sense to you. Like I said, let's use our liquid level indicators. Have juice ready made up in the fridge, so that then they can just go and get a drink. You know, once we get into a stage where we don't want to still be making a juice at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, we'd expect that that skill would be actually in place, wouldn't we? And then you can move on to, if people want to do hot drinks, the 1 cup kettle is a really good gadget to explore. We can put all this into a link, because you can then just Google it and look at that, because we haven't got time to go through lots and lots of gadgets, because there is literally a gadget out there for everything. You know, we've got talking microwaves, we've got talking scales, we've got talking thermometers, all of which, if you start using them now in your home, it becomes just a piece of equipment which is used. It's just standard. It's what happens. It's not seen as something that we've brought out just because we're trying to promote independence. And to be fair, every gadget that we talk about is really, really useful, whether it's sighted or non-sighted. Like I said, the talking microwave, RNIB, they brought it down in price. I love that. I particularly like the Cobalt has got a talking air fryer now. There's a 2-door and a single door one, drawer one. I'm sure you've all seen little bump-ons. We don't have to have specialist bits of, equipment. Bump-ons, whether they're coloured, some are all clear, they're black, they're in different shapes. You can mark your own gadgets up. Let them use and learn together, and let them be in control of what needs marking up. Think about it. Again, we're giving choices, we're giving control. One of the gadgets I did want to show you, and the importance of how we're learning in the kitchen, is particularly healthy eating. We can't get kids to eat vegetables at all, can we? So I love and I just brought it to show you. It's a soup maker. It's a Morphy Richards one. I like it because it's very simple on the top to bump on and make up. The lid lifts off. The blade is not at all sharp. Okay. You put your vegetables in there. There is a tactile line where you can go up to. You add cold water. It doesn't have to be hot water. You put it on. It's got auditory on it anyway, so you can do it by counting the beeps, or we can mark it up with bump-ons. It boils it. It makes the soup. It will either do smooth or it will do chunky. And of course, what we have to remember, visually impaired children and young people, they sometimes can be quite tactile defensive with some of the textures that are in the mouth. So sometimes using a gadget like that can help reduce that tactile anxiety that sometimes they can have by putting things in the mouth that they don't like. One of the things that I do like to show you, because people totally stress over children and young people using a knife. because we worry about the fingers. And this little gadget was based on, back in the day, we used to use an afro comb. So that was a comb that was used to go through afro hair. Somebody then fortunately put a beautiful sturdy handle on, and they called it an onion. I think they called it an onion chopper, some onion slice chopper. Literally, you can use this for any vegetable. So we stick the afro comb or the chopper into your vegetable. It's hard to show, and then obviously you're just using a knife, and then through feel you can go down, slice and chop vegetables very safely, because guess what, the fingers are out of the way, and we can use a really sharp knife to be able to cut through things really, really easily. I wanted to talk very quickly, if I can, on, where was I up to? Yes, the wealth of learning that is in the kitchen. We need to make food fun. We need to know that where carrots have come from, where potatoes are grown from. They don't just appear on your plate. And I think when children and young people have made stuff, they know what carrots actually are, peas are, you know, what meat is, where it's come from. The wealth of learning about learning to assess your own risk in the kitchen actually helps them to start to be able to sensibly learn to take risks that we're in, as adults, we're in control of, aren't we? We don't have to have non-slip mats, especially for students, young people. A tea towel, your microfiber cloth, wet it, put it underneath a chopping board, stops it from slipping around. That reduces things. And always good to remember there's two methods. There's a bridge method and there's a claw method. So your bridge method, when you use your knife, it goes underneath the bridge. That keeps the fingers nice and clear out of the way, knife's out of the way. And your claw method is just when you'll see chefs almost do it. So they're sticking the nails in and then they're chopping down that bit as well. So we're keeping our fingers nice and safely out of the way.